Yongning. This is the story of a man who filmed his own death for money. Yongning was a 26-year-old former film extra from China who had reinvented himself as a roof-topping celebrity. He had over 1 million followers on Weibo, China's version of Twitter, and he branded himself as a professional daredevil. His whole thing was doing insane stunts on top of skyscrapers with no safety gear. No harness, no ropes, no net. In late 2017, he agreed to a roof-topping challenge with a promised payout of 100,000 yuan, about $15,000. He told his family he needed the money for his mother's medical treatment and to marry his girlfriend. So on November 8th, 2017, he secretly accessed the top of the Huayuanhua Center, a 62-story skyscraper in Changsha. He set up his camera on a ledge, pointed it at himself, and started doing pull-ups while hanging from the building's edge. The recovered video is just chilling. You see him do several sets, looking strong, but on the final attempt, he pulls himself up, and you can see him start to struggle. He tries to hook his feet back onto the glass wall to find a foothold, but he can't. His grip weakens, and then he just lets go. He falls out of the frame, and the camera just keeps recording the empty sky. He fell more than 60 stories to a lower part of the building. From that height, the impact is catastrophic. Instant death. The worst part? His family and girlfriend only confirmed his death about a month later, after his once hyperactive social media feed went completely silent. His death sparked a huge debate in China about the platform economy that rewards ever riskier content. Was he a victim of the algorithms or his own choices? I don't know. But what I do know is that his last moments are forever immortalized in a video he set up himself. A man hanging on for prize money, then calmly recorded as he loses his strength and falls to his death. Rémi Lucidi. This next one is the stuff of nightmares. It's about a daredevil who got exactly what he wanted, the top of a skyscraper, and then found himself in a situation so terrifying it's like something out of a horror movie. Rémi Lucidi, a 30-year-old Frenchman known online as Rémi Enigma, was a traveling rooftopper. He climbed towers all over the world and posted the dizzying photos to his Instagram. On the evening of July 27, 2023, he walked into the Tregunter Towers, a luxury high-rise complex in Hong Kong. He told the security guard he was visiting a friend on the 40th floor. It was a lie. He took the lift up, then used service doors and stairs to make his way to the top, somewhere around the 68th floor. He was there to get his shot, his stunt. But something went wrong. At around 7:30 p.m., a maid inside a 68th floor penthouse apartment heard a noise. She looked out the window, and there was a man, outside, clinging to the exterior of the building. It was Rémi. He was trapped. He was knocking on the window, begging to be let back in. The maid, terrified, refused to open the window and called the police. So there he was, the fearless daredevil, reduced to a desperate man knocking on a stranger's window, 68 stories in the air. Before the police could arrive, he lost his grip, or his footing, and he fell. Residents heard a loud bang. His body was found on a podium terrace far below. Local reports say that on his way down, he hit and ruptured an external gas pipe, causing a leak. I'm sorry, but that's just insane. A stunt meant to endanger only himself suddenly threatens the entire building. He went from a god on top of the world to a terrified man begging for help, and then he fell anyway. That's a special kind of horror. Pavel Kashin. Sometimes it's not a complex, dangerous stunt that gets you. It's a simple trick. A move you've done 1,000 times, but you do it in the wrong place, at the wrong time, and suddenly that simple trick becomes a death sentence. In July 2013, Kashin and his friends went to the rooftop of a 16-story residential building to shoot some dramatic parkour footage. They chose a narrow, 3-foot-wide parapet on the edge of the roof as their stage. The plan was for Pavel to do a backflip on this tiny ledge and land right back where he started. A simple backflip. something he could probably do in his sleep. There's a photograph of this moment, and it's one of the most famous final photos on the internet. It shows him midair, his body perfectly arched, his arms out for balance, with the entire city of St. Petersburg spread out below him. It's a beautiful, terrifying image. He's just floating, 16 stories in the air. He completed the rotation, but he misjudged the landing. He came down just a little off center, lost his balance on that narrow 3-foot ledge, and slipped backwards. Before anyone could even react, he was gone. He fell 16 stories straight onto the pavement below. Instant, catastrophic death. His friends could only watch. His death became a major talking point in the parkour community. It was a brutal reminder that the danger isn't always in the complexity of the move. It's in the environment. A simple backflip in a gym is practice. A simple backflip on a 16-story ledge is a coin toss with your own life. And that day, Pavel Kashin's coin landed on the wrong side. AF. This is the classic, "my friend did it, so I can too" story. Except we only ever hear about the ones who couldn't. On November 21st, 2018, in Ankara, Turkey, a 17-year-old Russian kid, identified only as AF because he was a minor, was out with two friends. They were treating the city like their personal playground. They climbed a fire escape ladder to the roof of a residential building and decided to practice some roof gap jumps. One of his friends went first. He sprinted, leaped across the gap to the neighboring rooftop, and landed it perfectly. The others were filming.
Yes!
It looked easy. It looked cool. So, AF decided he was next. He took a running start, just like his friend. He jumped. But he didn't have the power. He didn't cover enough distance. Instead of landing safely on the other roof, he slammed into the side of the building several floors below. Eyewitnesses said he hit a window ledge on the 3rd floor and then just disappeared into the dark void between the two buildings. He fell the rest of the way to the ground. Neighbors heard the impact and called for help, but it was too late. He was pronounced dead at the scene from severe head trauma. The police detained and questioned his two friends, who had just filmed their best friend's death. The investigation concluded it was an accidental death during a parkour stunt. No shit. This case is just tragic because of how avoidable it was. It's about the peer pressure, the adrenaline, and the teenage belief that you're invincible. He saw his friend make the jump and thought, "I can do that." He didn't account for the fact that his friend might be stronger or faster or just luckier. It's a brutal lesson in physics, and he paid for it with his life. Yeung Hoi-kit. David Harrison was a 20-year-old parkour enthusiast from Delray Beach, Florida. On the night of August 1st, 2018, he and two friends were using the rooftops of downtown West Palm Beach as their personal obstacle course. They climbed a metal pipe to get onto a roof, then moved along a series of adjacent buildings. But then, David decided to push it further. He decided to walk along a power pole structure that connected two buildings, using it like a balance beam high above the street. A live, high-voltage power structure, as a tightrope. What could possibly go wrong? As he was crossing, he came into contact with a live wire. His friends reported seeing a bright flash and hearing a loud bang as thousands of volts surged through his body. The shock was so violent that it threw him from the structure. He fell to the ground below, with his clothes partially burned off and his body literally on fire. One of his friends had to use his own t-shirt to pat out the flames on David's head while they waited for paramedics. Incredibly, he was still alive. He was rushed to a local hospital, then transferred to a specialist burn unit in Miami. He had suffered major burns over much of his body, but after 3 weeks of fighting for his life, he died from his injuries on August 22nd. This case is just insane. He treated a live power line like a toy, and he paid the ultimate price for it. David Harrison. This is another story about treating the city like a playground. But it's the little details that make this one so haunting. Yeung Hoi-kit was a 17-year-old high school student in Hong Kong. He was a parkour fan, and he and his friends would practice stunts all over the city. Late one night in mid-August 2022, Young and two friends took the lift to the 15th floor of the Chim Sha Tsui Mansion, a mixed-use residential building. From there, they took the stairs to the rooftop. Residents later said the roof was always easy to access because of lax security and unlocked doors. The roof was covered in pipes, low walls, and different levels. To a group of teenage parkour enthusiasts, it must have looked like a free, custom-built gym. During their session, Young attempted a move near the edge of the roof. It was probably a jump or a vault. Nobody knows for sure. But he lost his footing, and he plunged from the 15th floor roof to a concrete podium on the 3rd floor below. A resident heard a loud bang and went to investigate, and there he was. His body was surrounded by a pool of blood. He had suffered massive head trauma and was pronounced dead at the scene. But here's the detail that gets me. When they found his body, one of his shoes had flown off and was lying nearby on the blood-stained podium. It's such a small, mundane detail, but it's so powerful. It paints a picture of the violence of the impact. 1 second, he's a kid in a pair of sneakers jumping around on a roof. The next, he's a body on a concrete slab, and one of his shoes is lying 10 feet away. His two friends were taken in for questioning, and the case was ruled an accidental fall. It was possibly Hong Kong's first ever fatal parkour accident, all because a door to a roof was left unlocked.